Let's get right to it. There is a brand new book out that's getting a lot of attention. It's called The Game, Inside the Secret World of Major League Baseball's Power Brokers. And John Pessah has been all over the place. He was at ESPN The Magazine. He's nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. John Pessah, the book is The Game. Welcome to KTRS here in St. Louis.
Thank you. Good morning.
You take a look at from the 1992 and how baseball has corrected itself, and baseball was at war with itself then, even canceling the World Series. My question for you, because it sort of changed the course of history forever, how close was George W. Bush from becoming commissioner and not running for president of the United States, and what happened there?
As close as Bud Selig desire to be commissioner. If Bud Selig doesn't want to be commissioner, George Bush is the commissioner of baseball. It's a job that he wanted. It's a job that he talked to Fay Vincent about. Fay Vincent was a family friend. It's a job that Bud Selig said, "I'll support you." Bud played a waiting game because the people in Texas wanted George to run for governor, the Republicans. And after waiting 4 months, George realized that Bud was going to hold on to the job and took the consolation prize of being governor of Texas. And the rest is history.
So it was ultimately Bud Selig wanted to stay on in the role as interim and or permanent commissioner, and therefore, because he couldn't become commissioner, he then ran for governor.
Absolutely. I've had people in baseball tell me in all seriousness that they blame the Iraq War on Bud Selig.
Well, I mean, you could. There is an argument to be made, and I'm sure it's told in your book, The Game. Lots to get to, but let's because we have a limited time. Let's talk about Mark McGwire and the home run trace. The criticism is that attendance was at an all-time low. They were having issues, and so the owners looked the other way while Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa took their steroids and brought the game back from the brink. True or false?
I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Steroids were in baseball from the late 80s. They were chanting steroids at Jose Canseco in 1989 when steroids were still legal in the United States in Boston. Tony Gwynn talked about steroids being baseball's dirty little secret in 1995. Steroids had been around for a long time. Did steroids help fuel baseball interest in baseball? I don't think there's any question. People liked offense. People were coming in your city and in other cities to the games early to watch batting practices with Mark McGwire. So obviously there was great interest in Mark McGwire, and obviously we know that Mark was taking steroids. So it was clearly part of raising the interest level in baseball, but there were a lot of things that happened. The rise of the Yankees happened. All the new stadiums that people wanted to come to happened. The boom in television happened. So there were a lot of things. It certainly wasn't just steroids.
But did the owners purposely look the other way, or were they just naive, or were they diabolical?
I think we all looked the other way. You remember the All-Star game in 1999 in Boston when Mark McGwire was hitting the ball over the green monster. It was the highest rated show on ESPN. Any baseball fan with a passing knowledge of the game, someone hitting 60 home runs 3 out of 4 years, people in their 40s having better seasons than they did in their 20s. Somehow we all suspended our belief. It wasn't just the owners, it wasn't just the players, it was the media, it was the fans, and we all were enjoying this.
Bill DeWitt, the owner of the St. Louis Cardinals, has told me on numerous occasions that the one thing that saved Major League Baseball was when they all put in money and decided to collectively own MLB.com.
Oh, there's no question that MLB.com is a huge success story, and it makes a couple of $100 million a year, and it's worth about $3 billion a year. So for $1 million investment per year for 4 years, that's not a bad return on their money.
Yeah. Talk about Mark McGwire's Nike commercial, which we kind of forget now, but you say is considered the most famous sports advertising campaigns of all time.
I sat with Tom Glavine, and he who was in that commercial, and he tells me that he still is asked to sign his autograph, "Chicks Dig the Long Ball." It was a memorable commercial. You Google it, and it has a million views, more than a million views constantly. It was a hit. Nike did a tremendous job, and it also tells you a lot about how people thought about home runs. Mark McGwire was the biggest thing, not in baseball. Mark McGwire was the biggest thing in America.
John Pessah is our guest. The book is called The Game: Inside the Secret World of Major League Baseball's Power Brokers, and it takes us through, at the last 20 years about how baseball really saved itself from the brink.
No question. I mean, they were holding the gun to the head of the golden goose. It was $1 billion business that was worth a lot more, and it wasn't until Bud Selig and George Steinbrenner and Don Fehr, all representing the three main parts of the powers in the game, finally realized they needed to work together instead of against each other for the game to prosper. And once they did that, the game took off, and it's now a $9 billion business.
The book is The Game, must reading for all Cardinal fans here in St. Louis. John Pessah, thanks for checking in. Good luck with the book.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You got it. The book is called The Game: Inside the Secret World of Major League Baseball's Power Brokers. 9 o'clock, KTRS St.